as Charlotte said, my name is Henrik Kjerumgaard. I have a consulting agency who works with strategic communication called White Cloud. And in the period 2008 to 2014, I worked for Radikale Venstre as press secretary and Margrethe Vestager as advisor. You say basically, of course, there's a big difference between Denmark and Russia and other European countries in order how politics work and the rules of campaigning. But I strongly believe in that you need a solid groundwork in order to have successful campaigns. So what I want to take you through now is how did we work to create a solid base to control the party's reputation and at the end of the day make solid campaigns. As I mentioned, I arrived at the Radikale Venstre in 2008. At that point, the party was in the opposition. They had just changed leader in the summer of 2007, and the three prior elections they have lost in 2001, 2005, and 2007. Lost in the sense of not being able to turn over the current government and be a part of a new government. So what we started to do was to build insights on how did the voters perceive the party, how did the voters perceive the leader of the party, in order to try to align and build a new platform to create a reputation that could be consistent over time and would be able to create a unique arena for the party that people could be loyal towards. If you change the slide. One of the things when you start building your framework is to figure out what do you want to achieve and who do you want to achieve it for. So basically one of the first things we did was to say what is the purpose of the party, what does the party want to express, what do they want to achieve, and most important, who do they want to achieve it for. And as Radikale Venstre is a social liberal party, we've ended with this framing that here it says in Danish, but in English it's take responsibility, which both addressed that the party wanted to take responsibility for the society, for the changes in the society, but it also, as a social liberal party, want to encourage people to take part of that responsibility and not just be waiting for the politicians to do something. Next slide. The next step we took after framing the purpose was basically to say how can we create awareness, how can we consistently create awareness, and what did the insights that we had about the voters mean in that context. One of the insights we got was basically that not old voters, the party's full name was Radikale Venstre, and there's another party in Denmark also called Venstre, and we figured out that younger voters, they had a difficulty between separating these two parties. They sometimes believed that Radikale Venstre, or they confused Radikale Venstre and Venstre sometimes. And we also had an issue about when we used the logo to make it work in on all different kind of materials. So we decided to shorten the name to Radikale and find a symbol that have relevance for the party, the B, which is the letter on the election ballot when you're going down to vote. And then we also decided to attach the framing, take responsibility with the logo. Another thing we did was that we worked with colors. In Denmark, the political scale is divided in a left and a right wing, where the right wing is associated with the color blue and the left wing is associated with the color red. And because Radikale Venstre is a social liberal party and tried to be in the center of the political scale, we decided to mix those two colors. And if you mix red and blue as a light, you get the color magenta. So that's why the main color for the party was magenta. The next slide. After getting hold of the items we need to build awareness, we started looking into what kind of associations do we want to have with the party, what kind of associations do we want people to have with the party, and what kind of association do we want to, over a long time period, for people to have with the party. We decided that the story for the party should be about behavior, should be about a specific, a certain political behavior, which we translated into we co-work, also in Europe. We believe also in teachers. We listen also to economists. We trust also in foreigners. And those framings were specific towards the current political climate in Denmark, where you had a big discussions about foreigners, and where the government and their supporting parties, they were like very strict on immigrations, they were very strict on foreigners. So we had a framing about that we were a party who trusted other people, who trusted other humans, and at the end of the day perceived humans as being equals, was framed in we trust also foreigners. The thing that was very important to the party as well, as a way of behavior and as a way of behavior that we wanted to communicate, was that we listened to experts, and we especially listened to the economy experts who warned against how to handle the crisis and how to get out of the crisis, where as well as the current government, they were more careless about listening to. There was a big debate. That was about that we needed changes in our tax system, that we needed economical reforms to get out of the crisis, and therefore we made a framing saying we listen also to economists. And the same about the teachers was a way to say that we trust the people who handle the education system. We believe in education as a form to change the society. And one of the findings we had when we did the analysis and the insights was that actually, because there was a new leader of the party, the reason why people went to the party wasn't the leader. The reason why people went to the party was the party. So we decided that the first campaigns we started to run should be colored, pure graphic campaigns that didn't involve any persons, because the person, basically the party leader at that point, was by the voter valued lower than the party itself. Next slide. The point is, when you start to work strategically with your reputation and your communication, you also have to secure that what I call perceived quality, what the voters at the end of the day experience with the party, how they experience basically what you call the quality of the party, how do they behave when it comes to everyday issues, how do they behave on a tactical level, has to be aligned with the associations you try to set through. So what we did was we made campaigns around trying to get new members, trying to get new funds, where we used the framing, take responsibility, support our party. Again, try to point out that people could interact, could be a part of the party, and could also have a saying, and should also have a saying, and should also take responsibility. As well as when we we put out new policy suggestions for tax, for economy, for teaching reforms, etc. And all those we, of course, when we ran the campaigns, which is the bottom right corner, is an example of a digital campaign, we, of course, framed it more narrow. That campaign says lower tax on work, and where people can go in and say whether they agree or disagree, which also meant that we got some insights on how people reacted on our framings and how people reacted on the politics that we put forward. But the point is that we were very concerned about having coherence between what we did when we did tactical campaigns and what we said when we did more awareness and association campaigns. Next slide. You'll basically say, at the end of the day, what differentiates a political party is what creates loyalty. And what creates loyalty is what people perceive as being unique about you. You could say there's a lot of parties who have like same stance on economical issues, same stance on immigration issues, and same stance on education issues. But basically, if you want a person to say, I'm worth having your vote, you need to explain to them what makes you unique. Why is I'm different from the other parties? And over time, and this is over the course of 3 years, we figured out actually that the leader of the party, Margrethe Vestager, her star was rising among the voters, among other things, because when we worked on the everyday level, she started to make decisions that underlined the associations we wanted people to have with us. for instance, when the government came out with a point system for immigration, she said, no, we are not, we want to vote against that point system. And then when the parties that we were in opposition with said, but we want to replace it with another point system, she said, no, we won't neither support that point system. So she basically put actions behind the words that we ran in our campaigns. And also later, here we are in the spring of 2011, she set through a big, she voted for a big reform that was set through by the government. So basically again, she said, we co-work with everybody who is interested in co-working with us by saying, yes, I support the other parties in the opposition and I want to tip over the government and create a new government. But if the current government set politics through that is aligned with our mission and what we want to achieve, of course I go with them and vote with them. So she both, in that action, she both showed why, on a figure level, to say why we were a magenta party, we could both work with the red side and the blue side of the parliament. And also she underlined that, yes, we listen to economists, so when the government set out reforms that is aligned with that, of course we go with them and vote for it. And she also showed that she was an independent character in the parliament. So we figured out that basically what created loyalty and what the voters perceived as being unique for the Radikale Venstre was our views on immigration politics and our views on economic politics, which were basically taking a piece from the left side of the parliament and a piece from the right side of the parliament and joining it. And then they start perceiving Margrethe as a really strong leader. So basically a part of what, if you ask the voters what made the party unique, was a mix of two stands, the stand on immigration, the stand on economics, and then an extremely strong leader. And I'll come back to that, but first I'll just show in another model how we actually worked. If you take a slide forward. So basically, we started looking into the purpose, and then the next slide. And then we had focus on awareness on our symbols and aligning our symbols, so we had that part under control. And then we started working with the association connected with the party. And then we started looking into, when we did politics and when we did actions, how did people perceive it? How did they perceive the quality of the party? How did they judge what we did? And then the next slide. And by that, we also looked into, so did they stay? Did they want to recommend voting for the radical left to other people? And then the next slide. So basically, you can say that what we were concerned about on a tool level was what is our unique arena, what does make the party unique, what kind of symbol is attached to the parties, both name, framings, colors, etc. What's the story around, what should be the story surrounding the party, controlling that, and then looking into basically what we would call the product and the organization. How does the organization behave? How is the product perceived by the voters? The product meaning the de facto politics. And basically the idea is that all these things should align. You cannot do something when it comes to your products or your organization that doesn't cohere with your story or doesn't cohere with your symbols, because at the end of the day, then it will break down your unique arena. If you go to the next slide. So you can say over the course of from 2008 to 2011, we were capable of creating a very strong reputation for the party and a very strong perception of the leader of the party. Actually, in the election in 2007, Radikale got around 5% of the voters, and at the election in 2011, they got 9% of the voters. And Radikale was able to form government together with the Labour Party and the Socialistic People Party in Denmark. And it actually turned out it was the biggest part of a government that Radikale had in their history. So all that was very, very good. But then from the period from 11 and from today to 15, something went wrong. And basically what went wrong was that there's a very different role between being in opposition and being in government, especially when you're in a coalition government and you cannot decide everything yourself. Just the biggest thing that changed in that period and caused the election here in 2015, where Radikale again got around 5% of the voters, was that we set through a teaching reform of the public school, which ended in a huge conflict with the teachers, where they went on strike, and the government decided to end the strike at some point. So basically, we violated one of our core associations that we trusted in teachers and we trusted in the education system. And also, Margrethe, she got a job as a commissioner in the European Union as a commissioner of competition. And that also meant that one of the parts that made people loyal towards the party, one of the things that the voters perceived as being unique, also disappeared from the party. So you can say over the course of the government period, we violated some of the associations. So you could say the product and the organization wasn't aligned with what we were trying to tell people anymore. And one of the things that really made the party unique and special, the leader, the strong leader, disappeared from the party. And one of the things you say, if we learn something from the 2015 campaign, is that you need, over time, to build a very strong platform to stand on. Because if you cannot fix problems in the election itself, there's this saying about that you don't win the election in the election campaign, you win the election between the elections. And for me, that's very right, especially when you work on a strategical level, because that's where you can build this platform. And you have to be aware that voters aren't different when it comes to voting than when it comes to shopping and when it comes to making other choices in life. People, they like consistency. They like things they are recognizable. They don't, also you talk about that people have a tendency to be afraid of something new, to be afraid of something that's uncertain. So people have a tendency to vote for what's familiar, what they know, and what can secure what they know. And they are less likely to vote for something that's risky or that they don't have a clear image of. Therefore, it's extremely important to very consistently and very strategically work with this platform and then perceive your election campaign basically as repetition of what you have said between the elections, and also as more a tactic tool to persuade voters to use door-to-door campaigns or use digital campaigns or use meetings for trying to persuade and secure that your message go all the way throughout before an election. Yes, is my time up?
Thank you.
Yeah.